Welcome to You Rang, an Addams Family podcast where we talk about all things Addams Family, as well as wherever that kooky wind takes us. My name is Fivel Fox, aka Kylie, and my co-host is JohnPaul. We are currently going episode by episode of the original TV series. Won't you come in? All right, episode 3. Your initial thoughts.
So I have to ask, because I don't remember too many like this, but is this the one they designed Addams Family values around?
I'm wondering, because that makes sense.
It feels like it. This is the one where Fester is once again looking for love.
Yeah, and it's the same jokes, like, oh, she's so ugly, but, she adores you.
And that's again the same jokes that are in the Munsters at the sto time too.
Yep, I wrote that down. I have always loved that joke about Marilyn. Which, and to me, it never gets old. It's great to see in this too. She's like, oh, but at the same time, they're complaining that she's ugly, but they're also like, oh, she's so vain.
Yeah, and she's an Avon lady without using the word Avon. So this episode, we start with Fester being very depressed and and stealing the newspaper from Gomez and hiding in the bushes, which I really got a kick out of.
I liked how they showed a little bit of how he was coping with it was by spoiling the kids. The need to be wanted and needed. So he was just doing extra things for other people to try and fill this void.
Because they weren't spoiled enough as it is in that house.
Yeah. So if people aren't giving him the validation that he needs, he leans into people pleasing to get it. Which,
I can't relate to that at all. I assure you, there's nothing close to that in my life, I'm sure.
Same. Yeah, I don't have problems with that at all. So, that felt like an attack on me.
I see nothing wrong with what he was doing. He's a hero. We are done with the episode. Thanks for listening. So yeah, he sends out for a mail order bride in the classifieds, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a thing that I don't know if this still is a thing anymore, considering there's so few newspapers.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing this for at least 50 years, as far as we know, because it was referenced on TV, even from I Love Lucy to I think as late as the Golden Girls, they were still doing it.
Plenty of movies have that entire plot. Yeah, I mean, a single white female.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's no different. You're right. It's just newspapers. It's no different from Craigslist.
Yeah. The part where he's waiting for the response, it was kind of cute because we don't do that anymore, and it's something that people don't even experience, that waiting for any kind of response.
It was cute, but it's also she had to remind him it's only been a day. He expects it to be so easy because he has this example of Gomez and Morticia that
he is a very handsome man, as you've seen. He looks a lot better than he used to. He's cleaned up a lot.
Yeah. Just a side note, I swear, at the beginning of the episode in the background, I thought he was going to come out of the knight's armor because there's a face in there. There's a guy. Yeah. There's a guy in the knight's armor, and I thought at some point Fester was just going to start moving. Because I feel like that happens in one of these episodes.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
I was expecting it, but then they showed him outside. So, but you're right. So when you texted me about this episode being extra horny, even for an Addams Family episode, it starts with those longing looks and the romance and everything right away. So we're already getting okay, we need to get it from Gomez and Morticia to set the scene, basically.
Well, the way when she's working with the trailing arbutus and the creeping crawler.
Yeah.
They were apparently choking each other out, which he loves. What a way to go.
I loved that. That and the general kind of innuendo to the kink and prostitution in this is hilarious. He's having a ball. Like even Morticia is just like aghast. But he's like, hey, live a little.
There is definitely a face in the night. I did not see that before.
Yeah, I was like, is that Fester? Oh no.
No, no, it's something.
It's like, okay, I guess there's just a face in the night. And that's fine. I mean, it's the Addams Family house, so
It also begins with Morticia knitting a new outfit.
yes.
Another knitting gag.
I love those. And every time she walks, you know how we talk about how she just kind of glides and floats
Yes.
everywhere? It reminds me of these is it the Russian Georgia dancers that
Oh
look
yeah.
like, yeah, those. I wonder if she learned how to do that at all, or she just does it naturally.
I think that's her herself.
Yeah,
Carolyn Jones was a very glamorous person.
she was just naturally. Oh my goodness.
I did a little bit of looking into it a bit, and this is actually the first episode that was directed by Sidney Landfield. And Sidney Landfield and Jackie Coogan did not get along, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jackie Coogan had a habit of falling asleep during scenes and between scenes, and he would snore, and Sidney Landfield, sorry, would apparently lay into him for ruining the shot.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of tension every time that he would show up as a director, and he directed a few episodes later on as well. And it being such a Fester heavy episode, he's always
He's basically
around.
always in it. Yeah.
So it's just kind of a little interesting seeing how that goes because I know both the kids talked about it was the first time they started to see that kind of tension on set when
Hmm.
otherwise the only fighting was just Wednesday and Pugsley, like cats apparently.
Yeah. And they talked about that in the behind the scenes I saw that, they were kids. They just got on each other's nerves.
I had no idea they were that young though. I would not have put them at 5.5 and 6.5, I think, or 7.5. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So, yeah, I look at like my kids or think of other kids that age and think of them doing a job like
Right.
acting and it blows my mind.
And being pretty good at it too.
Hmm.
Gotta keep pouting.
Well, luckily they don't put them through anything too rigorous.
No, no, it's very adorable once again.
I will say though, like for, we come back, this is a family show. Here we are pushing it to the edge with like the prostitution jokes.
I think it's more the reactions of both Uncle Fester and Gomez. They're like, hell yeah, all right.
I
This sounds
know.
nuts. It's like, wow. I mean, Gomez is a little bit repressed in this episode. I think he needs a
There
few
was
rounds in
no
the basement with the octopus.
I was waiting to I got the kiss counter out and I was like, oh, and we didn't get it at all. For all the
Nope.
horniness, no kiss counter.
He just has smoking jacket and headstands.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure
Oh,
no stunt double either.
that wedding cake that was smoking, that was cute. I like that.
That was adorable. And that they kept, apparently.
Yeah, but they hadn't eaten any of it, which was fine. Like instead of they just have the cake to save and give it to another person. Like, okay. I
I
guess
caught the person that plays the door-to-door salesperson is
Carter.
Mary Anders, who was in tons and tons of things. Apparently, she was like famous for being a guest star on shows.
Oh, that's really cool. It makes sense they picked her to play this
Yeah,
because she's gorgeous and she's perky and fun.
yeah, she definitely fits that bill. She was in Bonanza and Gunsmoke and all your favorite shows. Get Smart.
Yeah, those
It,
are all my favorite shows. I gotta go dig out the episodes she's in. We could
yeah, a
do
few of them.
a podcast just on her episodes of everything.
With this list, I could definitely see it. Watch some Maverick and oh man, you got Cheyenne and Bronco, all the good westerns.
Oh, Westerns ruled the day though, from like
Absolutely.
the 40s they ruled for like 30 years.
You know, anything with Jackie Elam will make me pretty happy. So,
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's true.
but yeah, they picked a very identifiable character because like at the time she was pretty major, so she was recognized for all of her other work, but it wasn't like stunt casting because she wasn't like a major cinema star or anything at the time.
Yeah. So it's one
So
of those like where everyone goes, I know that person, but they don't know the name.
exactly,
And
and
those
she
are our favorite characters, honestly.
yeah, those are the ones that always stand out the most. We've got where she handles her own with the family just fine and is really hoping that she's going to make that sale.
I love when she goes, I do this multiple times a day. And we're just like, oh,
That
you poor
guy.
thing. I laughed so much out loud during this episode. So,
And again, it's all dialogue.
like when they were doing the picture posing for the
Yes.
headshot, we had just talked about there wasn't a lot of physical comedy. And then in that scene, all three of them are mugging like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny.
Yeah, Jackie Coogan's having a blast as Fester
Yeah.
in this one.
And
And
then
the first time we see the light bulb gig, right?
yep. Is it? Yeah, wait. Well, I think we see it before in the very first episode we get it. But this one, like, they, play on it. And like he's showing that he can make it blink and stuff like that.
How'd they do it?
I don't know. I love the AC/DC joke.
Mm-hmm.
With how horny Gomez and Morticia are, I was like, how do they not have more kids?
They're very talented at their skills.
Yeah.
That or they just kiss a lot.
Yeah.
That seems to be his thing.
We don't kink shame.
They also mentioned some more characters that we had never heard of before.
The family members? Yeah.
Yes.
I like that too, when they're like, well, they are alive. And she's like, are they? Like, you should check.
Does that imply they're in the house somewhere too?
That's what I think. It reminds me of Uncle Knick-Knack, which is what the name on our Christmas tree bag says, Uncle Knick-Knack.
It was cute.
It was. The Morse code that thing uses. I think we start seeing that in this one, and then we see that later in the movies. It's just how he talks. But I was thinking about it, and for this time period, with, war was currently going on, and with all the veterans, I bet that Morse code was correct.
I wouldn't be surprised. I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, because there's plenty of people who would have been able to understand it. So that's pretty neat. I have no way of knowing. There's no like app, but it'd be neat to see if it actually has a secret message, like drink your Ovaltine.
That would be amazing if that was, and then it turns out the Christmas Story is just a reference to Addams Family.
Wouldn't that be? Oh, what an Easter egg. If we found that to be true and then put it on the internet, we'd just get our like 15 minutes of internet fame.
Well, I just say it is true. Everyone will believe it anyway. We're good.
That's true. No, yeah, you can put anything on there. I like when they're talking about Fester finding a bride. Morticia has to remind them, you can't just take one.
Yes. Things have changed.
Yes, it's very different. Just a random thing I was thinking about. When they go to their bedrooms, the house is still pretty normal. Like, I know they have weird stuff, but compared to like the movies and the other shows where the rooms are all like falling apart or cobwebby and stuff, like these rooms are just normal rooms with macabre stuff in them.
And that's what I have to wonder if that's something they adjust as the seasons go on.
Yeah.
Because especially we had a good look at Pugsley's room in the last episode, and it was just...
It's a boy's room.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the signs, the gag of the signs all over his room, meaning he's been stealing them, and there's cars that are all over the place getting destroyed.
Yeah. I feel like he took that sign from his dad's train set. Yeah, and then you see Fester's room, and I know later you see Wednesday's room. I'm sure that they weren't thinking that hard about it when they first started the show. And that's just something that came later. But I don't mind it because I like the idea that like they're still in the same universe as us. Not everything is totally off. Like, they just found a house and then put their weird stuff in.
That was actually the thing I was thinking about a lot. I was remembering when I saw this episode when I was very, very little, probably on a Sunday morning at my uncle's house. And I remember not liking it.
Oh, because it's not
weird enough.
Not weird enough.
We get, Uncle Fester, he can, do the light bulb thing, and they're always talking about chopping people up and blowing things up, but they are so normal in current day. They're very just kind of macabre, like you said.
Yeah.
And I waited for like the bear to get Bruno the bear.
Yeah, the polar bear rug.
Yes, I expected that to do something other than just roar. I kept remembering a kid hoping to see some weird magical stuff happening, so super fantastic.
Yeah.
Other than Fester, it's really down to earth.
Yeah. And I can see where, like, I know when I was younger, not that I don't love that about the movies and the newer shows that they really do lean into that much harder. I like that aesthetic. I actually, now as an adult, feel like I don't mind what they're doing here because they're
Oh no.
still focusing on, like, this is a quote unquote normal family. So we're seeing them put into like our world as normal. And these are our markers of normal. And they're like living and adjusting to it.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I kind of caught is that when he was trying to figure out what was different about Uncle Fester at one point, I didn't realize he could have multiple collars. I thought that was part of the robe he wears.
I thought so too. I didn't realize he was just changing those. I did like we were talking about, their grooming and hygiene that what was the line? Oh, spray on preservative just to keep. I was like, if only we all had that.
She had great lines.
She
Wednesday
did.
sold those scenes.
What kind of powder is she? Baking powder. No, for her face. Baking powder.
That's a very modern style of humor too. We
Yes.
use a lot of that nowadays.
I mean, it's not a lie. Like, I could tell you, like, 10 years ago, with all those internet viral trends of skincare, baking soda is one of them. So they were like telling you to use it for your hair and your skin, and then later you find out it dries everything out and irritates you. But girls are desperate, which is funny because Morticia says men are much fussier than women.
That I caught. I was like, that okay, that's a phrase.
Yeah,
It's cute.
I liked that because you look at her, it's like, oh, it must be nice to be so naturally glamorous and not have to do anything.
And that was another thing I was learning about when I was doing some more reading. That they didn't think they'd get Carolyn Jones for the show. They kind of just shot the shot and like, hey, maybe we could get someone to be Morticia, and they didn't think they'd get her because she was too glamorous
She
for
is.
this
But
little
you
show.
needed
Like,
that. You needed
yeah,
that though. That was not going to work without her being like a centerpiece.
and they thought she'd say no. She thought they thought it'd be too weird for her.
I would love to. I wonder if her thoughts are out there somewhere, her initial thoughts. I wonder if there's a part of her that loves the spooky kind of stuff. Like
I'll
she
have
was
no doubt.
ecstatic about it. 'Cause she was like Batman's bride in one of these her other shows, right?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah. So like she's not above silliness. Could
I
you
think
think?
she was the most famous of the characters that of the actors that were on the show because she'd been acting for a long time beforehand.
Right. Yeah, she had been in movies.
Yeah, Invasion of Life actors, of course, Here to Eternity, everyone knows her from.
Hmm.
But I read that she's in Horse House of Wax, which I haven't watched in forever. But
I
these are
haven't either, but now
staples.
that you say that, I bet because I wouldn't have known that as a kid when I watched it. But if I were to
Right.
go back, I'm going to notice a lot more of these people.
As a kid, all I know is he's the guy from Killer Tomatoes, and that's about it. That's the only, and no one else I knew.
So where is John Aston's career before this? Then you said he's not a big name by this point. I'll look on my phone.
If I remember correctly, he did a lot of Broadway and that kind of broad, no pun intended, but broad performances in the 50s and early 60s.
Okay, so that's where he was getting his recognition.
Yeah, well, because he was supposed to be the butler,
Right.
and they're like, no, we need you to be the lead.
Yeah. Well, and he was integral to Gomez. We talked about this being sexy.
Yes.
Let's see. Yep, you're right. Lots of Broadway. He had a small role in West Side Story. I don't remember that at all.
The amount of crossover from Media I Love and West Side Story is simply amazing. The amount of people from Twin Peaks that are in it,
Yeah.
and Russ Tamblyn, Richard Bamer, everybody. Just that's a whole nother thing we can go into another full episode of.
Oh, for sure. I was consumed by West Side Story when I was younger. And then I just had this, like, it's funny when you're in an isolated little world, you think, oh, well, that's how people really fight in gangs.
Yes, that is. With snaps and dancing and taps, and yeah, that's what we do. I mean,
That's
they
what,
do.
did you ever see that episode of It's Always Sunny? And Danny
Mm-hmm.
DeVito makes that joke.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so it looks like John Astin, the other guest star, where he just kind of made his name being a guest star
Yeah, I think
before
that's
this.
it was here and there, and then just everyone loved him. They just wanted him in the weird uncle or the weird grandpa character.
I mean, how could you not? Like everything you read about him, everyone says he's charming and sweet.
I think it's just that the smile is what does it.
Yeah. Well, and then like we talked about his exuberance of passion is not just Gomez, it's something he brought to Gomez.
Yeah.
And then Raul Julia carries over.
So something I just realized is he is the only person left of the original cast.
Yes, I was reading that too.
I was like, wow, and
Was it 96 or 97?
he's 94.
He's 94. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, he's just done a couple podcasts recently too. I listened to, and he's spry as ever, and he's just like another Dick Van Dyke.
I was gonna say when either of those people are gonna hurt so bad when either of those guys pass. I hope we didn't just jinx it and then we wake up tomorrow.
I'm just not going to read the news for a while.
Yeah.
Not that I was anyway, but
Morticia says every day is a party with us. Like that seems like Gomez's mantra.
he's in it for the fun. He is just loving every single thing. He's always twisting everything to be the positive.
Mm-hmm.
I adore that.
Yeah. He's a joy to watch on screen.
And so that makes me feel like that. Yeah, it makes sense that it would be a party every day. It's always you got someone around you that's always going to turn everything into, well, we can make this great.
I bet that's probably when you talk to people, it's not just the spookiness that drew people, and that it's kind of counterculture, but like that you felt good when you watched this show.
Yeah, I'd agree. And again,
Yeah.
it goes back to I think it's gonna be every episode we're gonna talk about it, but it goes back to how it was so different. It was a functional family.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hate each other, and that's God. I want that now. I
Oh,
want
I know.
not the I don't know, just the bickering and fighting. I want two people that are like we accept our differences because they're very different people.
Yeah.
Morticia is so calm and serene. He is basically completely bonkers, but he's caring about everybody. They're not cruel at all.
Yeah. There is no cruelty.
I think you would even take away the Wednesday's Black Widow, even though she has plenty of Black Widows.
Yeah. I like that they keep coming back to like, hey, remember she breeds spiders. Like, yeah, we remember. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think about it. Like, so it seems like the standard stereotype for family sitcom is the plot comes from bickering within the family, whereas most of the Addams Family ones come from the family facing the world,
Right.
which is a nice turn. So we're not like the drama isn't off, the wife and the husband bickering or the kids not getting along or in-laws and stuff like that. Even though we do get a little bit of that later.
Yeah, the conflict definitely comes from misunderstanding, from hijinks and misunderstanding, but nothing, at least not that I can remember, nothing really out there. There's no like, oh, we're gonna rob a bank this episode for some silly reason, or it's very subdued.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking at a list of things that were airing at the same time in the same era, and it's a pretty big mix of things. You've got like Green Acres, where you definitely have the misunderstanding between the husband and wife. They don't really connect as well. They love each other, but they don't connect.
Yeah, so that dynamic that's kind of like Lucy and Ricky. Like, oh, they're so different. How do they get along?
Right. But then we go back to the Addams Family, and they get along because they're so different.
Mm-hmm. Like that's not played for laughs that they're different. It's just accepted, which is super cool. Like it's neat that like the spectacle, and we keep talking about this, and we will forever. Is like within that family, like no one is a spectacle. Their stuff isn't. They aren't things they like. It's just normalized, and it's how other people see them is when they start to feel different. And even then, they don't feel different. They're confused by other people looking at them as different.
What's wrong? I love my wife. What's wrong with you? Crazy.
I was laughing when Gomez Says he hopes the girls look like Uncle Fester. I thought that was
Yes.
adorable.
Well, makes sense.
Yeah. Well, they see him as a very handsome man. They want him to look like the family.
Because he is.
Yeah.
He's striking. He's electrifying.
Literally electrifying. I need a man that's electrifying.
Where are they
Now,
supposed to be living exactly?
well, in the play, it's in a dilapidated house in the middle of Central Park. Here, I have
Right.
no idea.
I was trying to figure that out because it feels it's supposed to be anywhere America, but
But there's swamps right next to them.
right. And Gomez he's a man of the city. He's an up to date dude.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of been trying to think about that a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to dig deeper and find out what the lore is on there because I'm sure they cared more than we do on this.
Turn on the hacker music as you zero
I'm in.
in. Like there's railroad tracks, there's a swamp. It's, everyday Main Street America. Where is this?
I'm sure somebody's already done this.
Well, and we know that they have Victorian houses, so it's an older city.
It was definitely enjoyable to see them starting to branch out on the family again. Um, just trying to think of where we're going to see soon. I think we're going to be dealing with more with Granny soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do like that. Like we because we've seen this. We both know that we're going to start getting into the other family members and build on those, and those stories are going to be fun, especially Mother from.
That was something I also had to think about too. Is that I didn't realize that Gomez. I'm sorry, Uncle Fester is Morticia's uncle,
Yes,
not
not Gomez's brother.
right. Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so because I never caught that as a kid, and then so much of my memory of Addams Family is that smushed with the two movies that
Exactly.
now I feel like in the public eye, Fester is Gomez's brother. I feel
Right.
like if you ask, most people are going to assume that, but initially, no, that is Morticia's uncle.
I had to look into it because of that. Because I'm like, why does she keep calling him Uncle Fester? But then I realized it was kind of a honorific at the time too. It's a lot of parents would be like, oh, mom's over there. Hey, mom.
Yeah,
But
but then also in the movies, I always assumed Mama was Angelica Houston's mom.
yes, I did too.
So, and then here it's actually Mother Frump. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, the more we go through that, it's just interesting to see how they tweak it just a little bit. I don't know what the
mm-hmm.
purpose of that is, but
The only
why
thing
why
I can think of for, well, it makes sense for the movie because you need to have that bond. That's the thing that chases him away is a fight between him and Gomez.
yeah,
So that I get that, but it worked so well that I think we have this. There was like a nationwide memory erase of the fact that that's actually Morticia, and so he would also be older than them.
yes, and as I said, he's so sexy. He looks younger than all of them.
Well, it's that light therapy. If you look on the
It
internet,
is.
everyone's doing it now.
I also
Could
do enjoy the fact that they don't bother explaining why he can do his light bulb trick. He just can, and
I
that's
don't want them. Yeah, I agree. I don't want them to explain the weird stuff. I just want to accept it, and
you do.
that is part of the world. Like,
I'm really hoping we get more of the special effects, and we get to see more of the shots of the greenhouse and see more of the plants because we're getting different angles, but
mm-hmm.
it's just so full. Everything is just so much to see.
Well, and, now as I'm rewatching it because I'm rewatching it not just to enjoy it but to talk about it, I'm watching like how they're framing thing. Like when he does the handwriting, like
The
so yeah,
sideways box.
yeah, and how we're covering that. That's just a man writing, but we're not going to see any of that and how easy that is. So those little tricks, like I appreciate them.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate the stuff that you have to be more clever with versus, oh, a computer just fixes it for you.
we'll fix it in post. It's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, we both know this. We love practical effects. We
Oh
love
yeah,
puppets. We love seeing it in action. And not that it's better or worse, but it's my preference. So, could you
As long as
figure
the
out?
story gets told, I'm happy. That's I think it could come if it serves the story. I can accept some pretty horrendous effects.
And it's not whether the effects are bad or good that bother me. Because some movies, like that's part of it. Like Left 4 is amazing. Leprechaun
Mm-hmm.
4 in space because they actually have some good CG in there and great practical effects, and then they have some terrible stuff in there. And it's just a mix of everything, which I wrote that article on it. Like it is on purpose. Like that, those were choices on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not an
I was thinking.
accident. That's why it's brilliant.
I was actually thinking about that recently with some stuff I was watching, but I had recently watched the movie Jason X. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
No,
it
not at all.
yeah, it's a great movie. You should check it out. The whole series. Start watching it. You'll like it. Um, a lot of the effects are amazing in that. Like they do a
Yes,
great job. But then there's some of these liquid metal effects that are so way even or like they're poor for the era.
I think that's the problem because you're gonna always have movies that are on the beginning of technology. It's someone has to step in and start using the technology to make it better. But then you're
Yes,
always gonna have TV shows and movies that suffer because they're at the beginning of it before it's been refined. And but to be fair, for Jason X, it works because I feel like that's meant to feel like a sci-fi movie.
it feels like a 50s, B movie, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine anyone listening to this that doesn't know me, but yes, I absolutely my entire identity is Jason X.
That movie made me so happy when I saw it, and it does every time I watch it. And it's it's one the reason I bring it up, aside from just having to turn everything into a B movie podcast, is because you can look past a lot of the effects, even in movies that aren't quote unquote good, as people
Mm-hmm.
like to say. It works for the story. In even in this, I'm not sure if you can see that in the original airings, but you can see the puppeteer strings for the plants and things like that, and
Yeah.
it doesn't affect it at all.
No.
It's endearing.
Yeah. I watched the 1966 series of Ultraman with Isaac, and like obviously you're gonna see the models and the strings, and it's just you can tell that it's a tank of water.
Oh yeah,
But if you already know that going into it, it's so easy to lose yourself in it and adore that and appreciate that.
yeah. It
And I
was the
can
same thing I
only,
thought this episode
yeah,
with Gomez doing his backflips. It was reversed and everything, and it was charming. It was
hmm
cute. It was funny.
like I remember seeing, I think it was the first episode with Cleopatra, the strings on her, but I don't mind. Like that's great. Like to be fair, that plant puppet is probably like the most complicated thing on that set. The kids even
Oh,
talked about that.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah. So, even there, they were pushing boundaries just for this TV show. I was like, I love the idea too that they're like, they put all their effort into it and they're like, well, what's going to make the most impact? A, a man eating plant. I'm like, okay, sure, that's where you should put all your effort.
Yes, makes sense. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Or like for the monsters, like, we're going to put all our money into Spot. Why?
We can. It's fine.
Yeah, it works though, where they're memorable.
So was this airing at the same time as like this, like week to week, or were they separated by seasons
I'm
of
going to
Monsters? Do we know?
I I don't know off the top of my head, which is
Okay.
funny. I have the box set for Monsters right next to me. Isn't
Because
it
I know
great?
that there was always, even when I was a kid, people talked about because it was on
Oh yeah, you're right.
airings
So
all the
this
time.
starts 1964 as well. I wonder if we can look up like a typical night airing when it showed.
I'm looking at the yeah, they were airing at the same time. It's incredible. I'm just really curious of how that all worked out.
So yeah, the Monsters starts in September on CBS. Addams Family also starts in September. Is it on CBS? I should just
ABC.
it's ABC.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is I don't know who went. Well, the Addams Family starts earlier, just like by 2 weeks. But I guess it was like their counter to it. Like, oh, we got wind that ABC has a spooky show with monsters. We have a spooky show with monsters.
That's interesting, and I gotta wonder if that's what let them, put all that budget into Cleopatra there.
Yeah,
We gotta have something to counter Tony Gwynn.
I almost feel like I should probably put in a couple episodes of the monsters because I remember, I know Herman and Lily love each other, but that's their romance is not a huge in my memory. It's not a huge part of that show like it is with Gomez and Morticia.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it, but I remember that being more of
Like,
a more settled romance. They don't have that passion.
right? They seem like more of the like they're 20 years in. Oh, you big luck kind of thing, right?
Right. Kind of an all in the family
Yeah,
type thing. Oh, he's gonna do his stupid little thing again. But
it's
they're actually monsters. That's
right.
that's the big difference.
And it's this, basically it's just the same parallel. Like, they're monsters living in a normal world. They both have their fun, expensive cars. They're, bizarre extended family. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's some of those kind of shows that relied on their, I guess you could call them special effects.
Yeah,
Their makeup, their costuming, their set design is all just stellar.
yeah. Whatever brought this on in 1962 or three, they're like, we're gonna make these shows. I would love to know what the impetus for this. Like,
I was looking into a book that actually goes into the details of the Addams Family, and I was hoping to grab it from the library. So I'll let you know if I can find anything out.
it's I'll send you a text later, the one that I'm about to buy. I wonder if it's the same book.
It probably is.
Yeah. Is it? I think his name is Stephen Cox. Is it that one?
Possibly. I'll have to look it up later.
Either way, if it's different books, then we'll each have more stuff to read.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
is different. They're very different vibes.
they're different vibes, but they're going for the same kind of like, like you said, like they each have their spooky family to present. And you're right. There was very much like, I'm Team Munster, I'm Team Addams Family. And for me, I just love monsters, so I was both. But I remember my dad telling me when I was younger, because he grew up at this time watching TV, and he was like, he was obsessed with the monsters. And he thought the Addams Family were weird. I'm like, but they're monsters too. Like, what's weird about them? That's not weird about the monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, they blended together for me. I didn't really know the difference when I was really young.
Yeah.
They're both shows about monsters.
Well, and that's all I took it as too.
Right.
Because even as a kid, I knew I was watching old TV. So it's not like but like for my dad, this was coming out every week and it was brand new. But
Oh,
for
that's
me,
awesome.
we were just watching reruns of everything all the time. So it didn't feel like it was a competition.
Yeah, it's no ECW versus or WCW versus WWE on this one.
Oh, okay. We might have to do this, a whole episode of the monsters as wrestlers. Their intros, their gimmicks, their costumes. I mean, we have some of their costumes already, but we got to
Oh
step
yeah,
it up a notch. The pyrotechnics would be crazy.
yeah, it'd be definitely more over the top. And I could see Gomez have being a more of a promoter. He's got
Oh,
that shyster bit about him.
yeah, you're right. He has to be a promoter for sure. Morticia, Morticia would be like the femme fatale.
And then somehow, Wednesday and Pugsley cause everybody else to die horribly, and they win by default. Yeah, I could see it.
Fester is easily our heavyweight. He would be probably the most gruesome. I don't know. You got Mama. She could be gruesome.
Now I'm thinking way too much about this. This is not going to end well. I'm going to be doing this all night tonight, and I'm going to be stuck on TV tropes.
I mean, we also have Cleopatra too. You can use Cleopatra. Oh, Lurch and Thing. Oh my god.
It would be Lurch versus Herman.
Oh, it would be yeah, because Gomez is the promoter. It would have to be Lurch versus Herman because they're basically the same guy. And I feel like Thing would be on Gomez's shoulder, helping oh my God, promote. But he'd also like jump in the ring and cause chaos sometimes.
Yeah, they can call them whenever they need a hand.
And
We
we
never
could,
got a crossover. There was never a crossover between the Munsters and the Addams Family.
I wonder, that's because they're on competing channels though, right?
Oh yeah, and definitely at the
Yeah.
time there was no real incentive for them to do so.
Yeah, that was I don't know when that became a thing. That but it's I think they started that crossover thing with the cartoons, right? In the late 60s and then the 70s. And then like in
There
the
was a lot of it in
80s.
Batman too.
Yeah.
Batman 66.
And then you get crossovers like in drama stuff in the 80s. Because I know like Magnum PI and Murder She Wrote.
Yeah. Oh, more she wrote. Makes me happy.
Good stuff. I have one question.
Okay.
Could you tell at all what card game they were playing?
I paused it like 4 times trying to figure it out.
I knew that you also did the same thing. I did that too. I was like, I
I
can't
want to say
figure
it
it
was a type
out.
of Go Fish of some sort because they were drawing cards from it looked like a discard pile.
Okay.
I couldn't exactly tell, but yeah, I went through like 3 or 4 times trying to.
Because everyone played card games back then. It's just what you did. But usually they're much more complicated. And I was looking at it, I should be able to figure this out. This looked pretty simple. But I couldn't. I don't know if it wasn't a game at all and they were just pretending. Or you're
Well,
right, maybe it was Go Fish.
that's the only thing I can think of because from pictures I've seen, I actually don't know how to play Go Fish. I just know you draw from other areas.
I don't
They have a lot of cards in their hand, and see now I'm looking at it myself, and there's just I don't know. She's like dealing out hands of cards, like a fan of cards. There, I can't picture it.
I'm gonna put this in my head canon, is it's just some weird goth game that they're playing. Or they're just looking at cards together and then messing around with they're stimming together.
Are you implying that Gomez is on the spectrum with his love of trains and headstanding stimming and everything
Blowing
else?
up trains.
Yeah,
Oh, and the fact that he's obsessive about everything. His hyper focus.
yeah, I definitely see it.
I mean, yeah, clearly this family is, not neurotypical.
You're the normal ones. Everybody else is weird.
Yeah. So
I
here's
mean,
our first family of neurodivergence. They're royalty.
I also want to know where that table came from because that table that they're playing on it does not exist half the time.
No, I
It's just in
love
front of the
that.
stairs.
Yeah. They change that family living room all the time. I actually really love that they do that because that means in my head when they're not, because to me they're a real family living in that house somewhere. They're like, oh, it's Tuesday. I feel like changing the whole room for no reason, and none of us have jobs, so it's not a big deal.
You cut out a little bit there.
Oh, I was saying like, um, I love the idea that like on a whim they'll change their entire living, and it's not a big deal.
No,
They don't have jobs to worry about.
it's
They're
for
just
purpose.
they're just hanging out. Yeah, it's whatever their current interests are, like the trampoline thing.
You can't wait for that trampoline.
I love the trampoline. The trampoline brings me so much joy. I remember we when we first got our hammock, it was actually storming for like 4 days straight. So we were so excited for it that we set it up in the house, and
Mhm.
then we didn't even want to move it outside. It was like that kid's dream, like when you see people sleeping on hammocks in movies, and you're like, oh, I want one in my room. Well, we actually had a hammock in the
Oh
house,
wow,
and we were all so addicted to it. We were like, can we just buy a second one for outside and keep one in here?
bounce between them.
Yeah, it's the same with the trampoline. I feel like everyone should have an indoor trampoline and an outdoor trampoline.
I like that plan.
Yep. Again, for physical fitness and stimming.
I need to decompress. Let me go bounce for a while.
I'm gonna go have a trampoline about it. Oh, that's all I got. I feel like we have veered off course, but that's fine.
That's how you know it was a good episode.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point. It's a 20-minute episode and we talked about it 3 times longer than that. I feel like they did roast it.
It's like you see the YouTube videos of a 30-second trailer that goes for 2 hours. They're down.
Yes. It just shows how much people love the thing that they're watching.
Yeah, because there's just so much to pick apart, and so many roads to just keep going.
Yeah, and if that 20 minutes is inspiring you that makes your brain move for 3 hours, I feel like that's real special.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah. Let's just go on our trampolines and we'll meet up next week. And that's a Mummy Wrap. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at Blue Sky at You Rang Addams. Remember, there are 2 D's in Addams. And our email is yourangaf@gmail.com. Until next time, stay all together, Ookie Fiends.